G'day, hobbyists. Anthony, AOS coach here, bringing you the very first debut episode of a new show that I hope is going to be very successful. You're going to really enjoy. That is Down Under Sigmar. What is Down Under Sigmar? You're probably wondering. It is a opportunity for us in Australia to highlight the cream of the cream, our best players, our events, our tournaments, what's going on in the scene, to highlight some of the great hobby. And today I couldn't be more joyous to who I have on the panel. So introducing first my co-host, so the man who is hopefully going to be on every episode from now until question mark. It is the villain of AOS, Mr. Shadowhammer himself. Liam, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm good, thanks, man. Yeah, just pretty much putting like my mind back into place now with work after CanCon, after that awesome weekend. That's how I've been, and then just been non-stop writing lists ever since I've been back. That's how I've been.
It's been pretty crazy. I know I needed the Monday off just to watch the Royal Rumble. I didn't want to talk Age of Sigmar, yes. but by the kind of like the men's Rumble, I was getting pretty bored. So I started going to list design. So the bug has bitten, and Liam is going to be the co-host moving forward. So it's going to be Liam and I. And the man who's already jumped on the stream, a wrestling fan himself, a destruction man at heart, the winner of CanCon 2019, not Adam Burt, it is
Matt Campbell. Hi, guys.
So excited that you're able to join us.
The Rumble.
How good was the Rumble? Were you surprised?
Becky Lynch, man. That was it. Done.
And I have no idea what you're talking about. She was awesome as well. Like she's, I love the man.
Yeah, the man, the woman, everything. She's awesome.
Liam, are you a wrestling guy, Liam?
Nah, man. I have no idea what you guys are on about. Like I've watched like UFC, and like even that was like I'm like have no idea what's going on. So yeah. You guys are speaking a whole different language.
All right, so Liam's already lost street cred. I'm sure all the wrestling fans in the chat are going to go crazy because I'm not going to ruin it just in case people are going to catch up. But Matt, that was awesome. End of the men's Royal Rumble. Do we enjoy that?
Yeah. I was hoping for someone Irish to come in at the end, but that's only because I'm a big fan of his. So, but the actual winner was pretty cool too.
Look, it's been pretty awesome that we went Saturday, Sunday with a massive Rumble, 200 odd Age of Sigmar players. Then we went into some people in their underpants wrestling in America. So it's been a big weekend of action. But Matt won CanCon. Matt is a player that's been around for a long time. Might do a quick introduction for anyone who doesn't know myself. Liam, I might pass over to you, and then Matt, you can give us a bit of the rundown of who is the man, the myth, the legend that is Matt Campbell. I don't know if you've got a nickname yet. I reckon I can make up a nickname. I was going to make something up in the middle, but then you might just hang up. So if you're new to the channel, I'm Anthony. You might see me around Twitter, AOS Coach. Not because I'm going to coach you and I charge you special fees, but I want to bring the best out of Australia and help them go from good to great. You'll see plenty of YouTube videos. Liam's been on one. Matt, you've been earmarked for a corn one. You didn't know it yet, but you've definitely solidified it. And this channel is all about getting really good at Sigmar and learning from the best of the best, whether it's all of the players in Australia and internationally. So, and I've been playing Sigmar far out since day one, but back an old school Warhammer fantasy player. That's me in a nutshell. Liam, who are you?
Hey, I'm the villain of AOS in Australia. Straight up. My tag is, my Twitter is Shadowhammer. I run a podcast called Shadowhammer, where I talk competitive Warhammer. I'm a Sylvaneth, elf player at heart. I've been playing AOS for 3 years now, since General's Handbook 1 came out. And I've been competitive Sigmaring since then, really. Like, I think my first CanCon that Clint ran was my first ever Warhammer tournament, and I've just been a competitive player since. So it's all because of Clint that I am still playing Warhammer competitively.
Mad props to Clint, because I'm the exact same story. Played Fantasy back from 4th edition, first event and tournament, and even like outside of like a garage or a games workshop was CanCon. So we're going to give plenty of props to CanCon. I can see people like Gemma Shepherd's in the chat as well, who was a massive person that helped enable CanCon and gave up her weekend as well as many other people. But I think between Liam and I, you're going to have a great view on Sigmar, whether it's community, hobby, conversion, painting, gaming, tournaments, narrative. I think you're going to get a pretty good mix.
I think we both do all that stuff in one, and even like we play competitive Warhammer, and we also do pretty cool conversions and hobby. So, and we also know people who we might be bringing on who do awesome paint jobs. So yeah, so it's a lot to look forward to in this show.
And we've got one already on here. Not only is he a great painter, not only is he a great player, not only is he a legend. So Matt, who is Matt Campbell?
So despite Anthony's kind words there, I definitely focus more on the gaming than I do the painting. I love the hobby, but I've got that common affliction of shaky hands, as Liam will know about my photography as well. So I try my best with the painting. I'm definitely getting better at it. But since AOS dropped, a little bit before that, I played a bit of 7th once I got back into the hobby, but pretty much straight away. AOS dropped. I became obsessed with Destruction. Played that for like a solid year and a half before starting the Khorne for 2017 Masters, I think was the first outing for them. And then I've sort of played Khorne competitively since then. Destruction's always been like my fun army that I'll go back to. So yeah, I, again, like Clint and Liam, CanCon, the first one that Clint ran for AOS, was my first major tournament. And I've pretty much been hooked on the tournament scene ever since then, because just that was such a great introduction to it. Met so many cool people, like the Heralds, like the Queenslanders initially. And then in the last year, we've had people from all over Australia come in, and the community's grown so well. And then just this last one, we've had internationals from New Zealand and stuff who have really helped kick the scene on even further. So I'm just loving it at the moment and can't wait to see what's next for us.
Yeah, and I've played you at the Masters. I've attended many events with you, RCGT, BreezeCon. There's been so many events that so this is not just your one and only event. You're quite a regular on the tournament scene. Is that right?
Yeah, I try and get to all of them that I can. I think initially we were traveling a lot for tournaments, just because it wasn't so prevalent all over Australia, and so you had to sort of take what you could get. But now I sort of travel for the bigger ones I can get, especially if it's something different from what I can get in Sydney. But events like, well, you both had tournaments last year, and of course we have Chris Welfare runs a big tournament from Mortally Wounded, and they're all in Sydney. So I definitely make sure I get to all of those, and I get to as many around Australia as the wallet will allow me to, while also filling up on plastic crack.
Yeah. I love it. Liam, were you going to say something?
I was just going to say, I'm pretty sure first year, me and Matt, I think we did 3 trips to Brisbane in the end.
Yeah, at least, man.
We did BrizCon, RCGT, and then we had Masters. So I remember first year we had to travel heaps for tournaments, because I think Sydney, we only had one tournament, which was Sydney Slaughter. And the rest was 1 day is at the Games Cube, and that was it. So, and then last year we had myself and Magro's event, which we both didn't play, me and Magro. We both didn't play on either of our events because we were TOing. And then, we had a few more events, but I think this year, you'll see that we don't have to travel as much. So, which would be cool, because I think everyone, so many people now are just running their own events, which is really cool to see the scene grow that much, that instead of just having 4 events on the calendar, I think we have over 12 already.
Yeah, and so later in the session, we're going to talk about some of the events, and I can see on Twitter there's some fun beef between the Dwellers Below guys and the Heralds of War guys, who are running an event on the exact same day, and they're throwing shade at each other, trying to get people in. So I I think we're in a pretty good place. I think anyone who watched the Honest Wargamer stream would see the fun, the craziness. And I know Robbo and Nathan have walked away, blown away with the craziness that is our scene. But I think we're in a good place. I think we've got some really cool players. We've got some really good events going on. So, yeah, absolutely loving it. Nice.
Couldn't agree more.
Exactly.
And this is why we got Matt on, so he could just agree with what I say. The bank transfer has already occurred, so just give it 3 to 5 business days.
If you ever need someone just to be massively positive about the Australian AOS scene, go to Liam for the negative stuff, and then come to me when you just want a sycophant.
All right, I've been so positive for the past 3 weeks. Let me be.
Liam's been good. He's
sound like a recovering alcoholic, Liam.
Yes.
Like it's been 20 days since my last Twitter rant.
No, Facebook rant I haven't had in a while. Twitter rant, I think my last rant was about Grimgust Reapers. But yeah.
No, I love it.
It's fine, Lim.
Look, we're getting close to CanCon. I know we want to talk about it. Instead of, I'm going to quickly move us along from Liam. He's been on his good behavior. Maybe the viewers here can be my Liam police. If they see Liam acting up, I can kind of slap him. Or give him a bit of a band stick, and I'll replace him with, I don't know, Matt maybe. You are the winner of CanCon.
This is just a power play.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm gonna like hey Liam, get me some like a bully at school. Like, hey, get me some lunch. He's like, no,
it's
man.
Great. Me and Magro are gonna have an awesome AOS and wrestling podcast. It's gonna be the only one in the world.
Don't steal our ideas, internet.
I am so triggered right now.
All right. So, and Danny Carroll saying, be nice to Lim. So I can see we got some good, give some shout outs. We've got Danny Carroll, we've got Horace, we've got my man crush Seth in here. We've got Gemma, we've got James Mabry. There's a whole bunch of people in the chat. So g'day to you legends. But I want to talk CanCon. I'm so excited. Had such a great weekend. I want to throw it to you boys first. Matt, how was your CanCon other than the massive victory you achieved?
It was awesome. I knew it was going to be awesome, though. It's always awesome. I went down there, genuinely, the target was like best corn, was like, I would have loved that, or top 50, because I thought it was going to be a bit of like a just roulette job. You know, you could get one bad matchup and then that messes it up for you. So that was, I wasn't feeling like overly competitive going into it. But really, CanCon for me was just, I work in retail, so like the Christmas, like back to school period was super stressful, and like CanCon was like this shining beacon of a guy's weekend away, and it was just going to be really cool and sociable, which it was. And then obviously I had a massive perk by the end of it. But yeah, that's what it is for me every year, is like a chance to catch up with everyone, because you get some people going to some tournaments, some going to others, and then we had stuff like the Caratel on the Friday night there, where it's just pretty much everyone I know from the AOS scene was there, and it's just getting to see people you haven't seen for like a couple months and catch up.
Yeah, sounds awesome.
Yeah, no, I agree, and the cool thing about, I guess, all three of us is we've been here since the start of Sigmar for CanCon. So we were all playing 2017 when it was 50 odd players. Then we saw the growth into the 110 players 2018. Then we've seen it double to, I think it was over 220, but then it kind of dropped to the low 190s or mid 190s by the time dice were rolled. So
and then next year we'll be there when there's 440. Isn't that right, Clint? 440.
Make it 400, Clinton.
Make it 400. Make it.
I'm just watching the chat panel to see if what Gemma has to say. She might be like, I'm out. I'm not assisting TOing. I'll play the 440.
440. Let's do it.
We're just going to have like 50 assistant TOs next year.
Hashtag 440. We'll get some of the 40K players who want to learn the game. Like they can assist.
I'm pretty sure that's already happening, because I'm pretty sure a lot of the people now are coming from 40K. But yeah. Yeah, like that's, I'm pretty sure when like what Matt said was pretty cool, how like it is literally CanCon is a beacon of hope of being like, that is the awesome weekend away in the pretty much Christmas break. we just look forward to it. So yeah.
By the way, Gemma said 500. So Gemma,
500, yes.
Gemma being
Yes.
the voice of our community has said 500. So Clint, when you watch this, congratulations, you're going to be running a 500 player event.
Yeah, and it was Gemma's idea, not ours.
Yeah, we said 400. We were being nice.
Yeah.
So we all had a good weekend. We had the barbecue on the Friday, which was a opportunity. Doom and Darkness had organized a hall and a barbecue, and Luke Dadhammer had cooked all for us. So massive props. So for the people who didn't attend the barbecue, what did the barbecue look like, boys?
The best nerd hangout ever is probably the best way to describe it. Like, I'm pretty sure I remember just like walking up. We just finished Tasman Cup, which we'll talk about another day. Walk up, and there was just legends after legends, left, right, and center. And it was super friendly, and there was just drinks flowing. Food was eaten, and then everyone just talked about just like what they're doing with the hobby, and just talked about other cool stuff, which was cool. Like, and everyone's just talking about like what their goals are and stuff in the like for CanCon. And getting to meet people that you like probably talk to online or see online, which was cool. That's what I liked about it. And it was just like, and then we had this one epic family photo at the end, which just looks like awesome fun. I don't know if anyone else disagrees with me, but
No, it was super cool. It was like every 2 steps you run into someone who you haven't seen for a while, but you always get on great with. And, you know, it's like meeting up with 50 old friends all at the same time. It's super cool. It's just really hard getting to the fridge to go get another drink.
yeah, that was a challenge.
I had to use my best networking skills to make sure that I didn't get bogged down with one person and, you know, politely say I need to move on. Not that I don't enjoy talking to you, but with so many people there, I wanted to make sure that I said hello to the Queensland people, to all these people like the Dwellers of Below guys who I've been talking to on Twitter for some time now. You know, the New Zealand guys. There's so many people that kind of come together. It was really nice to break the ice and formally meet people, and it made the Saturday morning so much easier because you may have spoken to that person when you got matched up. Did you guys feel the same?
Yeah. Sorry, you go, Lim.
No, you go. Winner goes first.
Yeah, no, it was super cool because they posted up first round matchups while we were there. And so and it felt like the few people I hadn't met yet was my first round opponent, Elizabeth. And she came over, introduced herself, super outgoing, super nice. And like, that just like was awesome because I got to spend the night just being like, cool, I've already met my opponent for tomorrow. She seems awesome. Spoiler alert, she was awesome. And so that just immediately takes, you know, you're at least going to have a cool morning tomorrow. So that was like a really good element of it. You know, great night at Canberra's premium, best ever 2-star holiday location.
Yeah. If you're looking for sleep, this is not the place to go. But if you're looking for good times and hanging out with all the cool kids, and you get on your balcony and there's, you know, the Doom and Darkness, you know, and this South Australian crew, and then 2 cabins down, you've got Clint, and you've got the Honest Wargamer crew, and then to the right, you've got Seth and Dan from AOS Shorts and all the Kiwis, and like literally like the who's who of Sigmar. And then you got the hall where everyone's having a barbecue. This is the place to be.
It was awesome. I would say if we're doing it again next year, if you're coming down to CanCon next year, we'll make sure we tell more people, like tell other people about it. But like, it was honestly an awesome hangout. Yeah, I could not fault that night. So shout out to Doom and Darkness for running an awesome barbecue, and thanks again, Luke, for making probably the most delicious sausages ever, especially when I was heavily intoxicated.
And we've been told, is this before or after you got carried to bed, Liam?
This is way before I got carried to bed.
I forgot that happened.
Yeah. I also shout out to Dan Brewer for walking me back to my Airbnb, which I have not been yet. So that was good. Or else I would have slept in my car. That's what would have happened.
Jet's saying how great the Airbnb was. So it must have been incredible.
It was great playing Secret Hitler.
Let's move along from that one. I don't want this channel, but I don't want this channel being turned into an MA15 plus. let's talk armies before we get into our actual games. And we've already spoken about the awesomeness that is Elizabeth. What did we bring? Matt, what did you bring?
So as I bought what I like to call Blades of Corn, what AOS shorts like to refer to as Gore Pilgrim's Allegiance. So that was really cool because it pretty much cut straight to the list. So I had a Wrath of Corn Thirster, a Bloodthirster of Insensate Rage, a Bloodstoker, 2 Slaughter Priests, and a Bloodsecrator. Then I had 2 units of 10 Blood Reavers, 1 unit of 5 Blood Warriors, a unit of 10 Skull Reapers, 10 Flesh Doggos, and the Gore Pilgrims Battalion. And then, as is only proper with such a bloodthirsty, despoiling army, we were from the realm of life. For no reason in particular, it may have been Gear Strike.
Very interesting.
So there's a lot of blood in those names, I have to say.
Yeah, blood, skull, any combination of those. I think flesh is the only other one that appears in the War Scrolls. But yeah, pretty much every unit in my army had some variation or combination of those 3 words.
Yeah. How long were you, so this list, was this like a new list, or was it like an old list that you've been, like a new list that you've written up, or an old list that you were carrying around or practicing?
Well, I played the Corn for a while, so I feel like a lot of the time when you play an army for so long, you rarely like completely overhaul the army, especially when it's been doing well and you enjoy it already.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like a natural evolution of the army. So at Masters, rather than the Flesh Hounds and the Skull Reapers, Masters was like the last big tournament I'd gone to before CanCon. Yeah, rather than the 50 bloodletters that I had in that list, because whether they got better or worse is a point of some argument. I would say worse, but, you know, there are arguments for either side. I would say that they didn't work as well the way I play my Corn.
Yeah.
And so they became 10 Flesh Hounds, which were really cool and versatile, and the murder train of 10 Skull Reapers who just...
And Flesh Hounds also dispel, right?
Sorry?
Flesh Hounds can also dispel?
Flesh Hounds can dispel and re-roll to dispel when they're very close to a Corn hero. So that was super useful because for quite a few of my games on the weekend especially, I was pretty able to shut down my opponent's magic phase using things like that. And then the Wrath of Corn Thirster's got a super cool unbind, and the Bloodsecrator makes you re-roll successful casts. So...
You just make it harder for like wizard armies. So it's called Toolbox Army, pretty much. You got an answer for most things.
Yeah, you make it harder for those armies, and also so many of those armies rely on that one spell going off to make everything work. Like that's the start of their combo, and if they don't get that off, the combo's in trouble. And so I think anytime you can sort of disrupt your opponent's plans, or even if you don't disrupt them, make you think there's a chance you're going to disrupt them, and you'd be amazed at how weirdly they start acting.
Yeah.
Like they suddenly throw the whole plan out the window and do something crazy.
Okay, cool.
When you were building the list, Matt, were you preparing for any particular armies, or did you have a meta idea in mind? Did you expect there to be lots of death or lots of a particular army, or like what was coming together in your mind when building this list?
So it was mainly like the top tier armies I was thinking. So Aussie meta, so I was thinking Caradron are obviously always going to be on the top table. Got to watch out for those Bretonians. Yeah, man, just that Aussie top tier meta. Got to watch for it.
Caradron was almost at the top. Let's not joke about Cancron. Cancron from SA, he almost was at the top. So
good on him.
Had a cracking game. I think it was game 5 or game 6 against Dave.
Swift Talk agents, that's a scary meta.
Got to watch out for them Swift Talk, yeah.
They got to get the mail there.
Shout out to Paul Grixity, absolute hero.
He was 3-0 at the end of day one. So
Good on him.
He was worrying everyone. Jeez.
He was freaking me out. He was actually staying at my cabin, and like, I think Rob Symes had posted that Swift Talk Agents was on the stream for Game 3, and I think my response to Rob was, "Really? But it was awesome. I think we saw some really interesting armies. We saw Luke Dadhammer with his Scourge Privateers on the stream. We obviously saw Deepkin versus Stevens. I think he had Stormcast. So we had some really interesting matchups. But you, in particular, you were obviously preparing for the meta, and you were thinking about lots of magic going on and lots of different, like the different types of armies when you're obviously building this list.
Yeah, serious answer. I was obviously aware that Daughters of Cain, I haven't played them much, but I was aware of what I sort of needed to be able to do to shut down a lot of their combos. I was aware that, obviously you've got to prepare for death these days with Grimghast spam and having a way to kill that general, which is so key. Yeah. That's why the Skull Reapers needed to stay in the list, because so many of those armies, you'll see a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon with Ethereal Amulet, and then he'll have a Mystic Shield on him. So 3 up, ignoring Rend, re-rolling 1s for those armor save tests. Unless you're doing some sort of mortal wounds, you're just not killing that thing.
Yeah.
And so that's why the Skull Reapers were in that list, because I knew that if he came to me, I needed to be able to pull him in and just smash him off with the Skull Reapers, and then we'd be okay. Who else was I looking for? So the extra unit of Reavers is in there, A, to score objectives, but also B, so I could have another unit of 10 to block off the sides from things like Morsar, Eels coming on the side of the table and the back of the table. I think if you plan to do well at a tournament, not even to win it, but just do well, you've got to be aware that there are going to be certain armies who you probably will have to deal with. I managed to dodge some of them. I didn't manage to dodge all of them. I played quite a bit of Legions and definitely had my run-in with Daughters of Cain for the weekend. So you have to prepare for these things if you want to do well at a tournament.
Here's another good question for you. What was in your summoning pool? Because Khorne has summoning for free. So what was on the side for your summoning pool? Just so you had like a different toolbox.
So summoning pool, I will more often use it late game than early game, because early game, it's a bit more crowded. It's hard to get it within 12, wholly within 12 of your hero and 9 away from your enemy. So I don't have big units in my summoning pool. I want to summon lots of small ones and use, Blood Tithe pretty much every turn. So I had, I think 30 Bloodletters were in my pool, but I think the most I ever did was 10.
Cool.
I had one of each of the small heroes. So I had a Herald on Juggernaut and a Herald on Foot, because I knew we were playing 3 places of power.
Yeah.
So they were going to be useful there. And last but not least, the main thing that I was summoning that weekend, and any Khorne players out there, they are the best thing to have in your summoning pool, are a unit of Flesh Hounds. Mainly because they can do attacks, they can do damage on their own. They're a unit of 5, so they will score on those objectives. But the main reason is because on their War Scroll, they can re-roll their charge rolls. And so if you're setting something up 9 away, you don't even have to spend a command point to get that re-rollable 9-inch charge. So that's what I summoned most of the time. And also because I love Flesh Hounds.
And they can also do another Unbind, which is cool.
Yeah, so in your opponent's next turn, even if you don't get that charge off, you still got to roll that Unbind, and it's obviously going to be pretty close to their army a lot of the time. Yep. So they're just a good toolbox unit. That's why one of the big Khorne lists you'll see at the moment is a Blood Hunt, where they spam units of Flesh Hounds, because you get loads of Unbinds. They're not something that needs to be buffed. They'll just do work against your opponent's units. So if you're planning a Khorne summoning pool, Flesh Hounds on Flesh Hounds on Flesh Hounds, I'd say.
And we're lucky they got great models as well. So
yeah, some new ones. Cool.
So before we get into the games, Liam, what were you running for the people who are unaware?
I was running Winterleaf, Sylvaneth, but no Frostheart Phoenix or Alariel. I had a Durthu with Warsinger, so +1 charge, and he had Gear Strike. Yes, I am from the Realm of Life, and it was just for Gear Strike. It was on my list.
You're both the Gear Strike, Realm of Life friends in the Mortal Realms.
Yeah, so me and so pretty much his Bloodthirster and my Durthu went to the same shop. So yeah, they
got a 2-for-1 deal.
Yeah, 2 for 1, pretty much.
Like it was a Groupon thing.
Yeah,
they got a coupon.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that shop in Shaiish that sells all the ethereal amulets. It's like Aldi of Shaiish.
He's been doing so well lately, that shop owner.
I heard his stocks have gone up, which is great to hear. But,
mind you, his car park is crazy with all of those zombie dragons in it.
Oh, people are just parking. People are just parking where we used to get doppelganger cloaks from. But
that poor guy got shut down like 2 months ago.
He's relocated to a smaller shop. But Liam, what else is on your list?
And I got 2 branch race, one with Acorn and one with Randy Samatiri. The one with Randy Samatiri had Verdant Blessing to summon more Wildwoods. Randy Samatiri gives +2 to cast. And then I have Acorn of Ages for a free Wildwood. And then I got a Branch Witch there for a Branch Witch Bomb. And I got 2 units of 30 Dryads, 2 10 Dryads, and 6 Cone of Hunters with Scythes. And then after that, I have, Forest Folk, Winterleaf as my battalions. And then I got Pendulum, Spell Portal, Balewind, and Cogs. And the list can be played on either defensive or offensive, which is what I really liked. So yeah.
Love it. And if anyone's wondering what I'm playing, or was playing, I had taken the Gloomspite Gits. So I had taken the Loon King, which is a super fun, awesome model that I'm sure we can talk about as the game's progressed. I took a Mangler Squig, the Loon Boss on Mangler Squig, a Troggoth Hag. I had taken 60 Grots. I had taken 20 Grots and a Squig Herd. I had taken the Shooting Squig Gobber, Colossal Squig, and Mork's Mighty Mushroom, which is the endless spell, the nuclear mushroom. So
such a cool model.
Yeah, it's a good model. It probably betrayed me a little bit, and it's being culled in my Adepticon list at the moment. So, it was a really good run for the Moon Clan and the Gloomspite, and seeing that Theory Hammer kind of playing out. So, did any of you guys get to play a Gloomspite army at CanCon?
Yes, I did.
Well, you're lucky. I versed Grimgust Reapers. Hate them.
Lame. I played Luke's Gloomspite, and they were awesome. They kicked my butt. We didn't quite get to finish our game, so it was probably like the score ended up a bit more in my favor than it would have been. If we'd gone to 5 turns, it would have been like stupid close. But 1 unit of Fanatics, 1 unit of Loon Smashers went into 30 wounds of Skull Reapers and did 29 damage to them. And it was one of those moments where I'm like trying to look happy for him and being like, wow, aren't Gloomspite wacky? But in my head, I was like screaming.
Did he teleport them behind your line, or was it just legit come out of the unit and punch you in the face?
He didn't teleport behind my line, but he did the Hand of Gork thing and just... they're so good. Anyone who doesn't have Loon Smashers in their list, if you've got units of Grots, get them in. They are so good.
Yeah, the Fanatics had definitely changed their role. They got dropped out of my list because they don't counter the charge anymore, but they are quite powerful. I think there's a really nice build. So, Matt, you've played Khorne for a while. Liam, you've played Sylvaneth for a while. Let's talk about the event. Let's talk about CanCon. Let's start at the top. Round 1. Matt, you've already told us you got to play Elizabeth Lockhart. She was running. Tell us about the game.
So, Elizabeth, super cool. She was really nice. She was playing Legion of Blood with Nephi as the general. She had Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. Sorry.
One second. Best Mortark. Just want to lay that out there. Best
No, she's
Mortark.
not.
Yeah, she is. Anyways, keep going, Matt.
Vlad's still a Mortark to some of us, Liam, and he is so much cooler. But we will leave it there.
Also, not Manfred. So you don't like Manfred?
Hey. Matt, Liam, if you want to be included in future episodes, Manfred is God. In death. Sigmar's still the best. Sorry, Matt.
Well.
Liam rudely interrupted you about telling us how Manfred was the best. Tell us more about Elizabeth's army.
So I said Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. I could not have been more wrong. It was a Vampiress Lady on Zombie Dragon. That was a super cool conversion. A lot of character to that model. She had a massive unit of 40 skellies. And like as soon as you see a Legion's army with a big death unit that has the summonable keyword, you're like, oh, uh-oh. But yeah, that was in there. It was super cool because it was a non-50 Grimghast. Like, check this out. Played 2 Legion's armies on the weekend. Both of them super cool generals. Didn't fight a single Grimghast Reaper. Good work,
drop
Matt
that
and
mic.
Elizabeth. That is what we want to see. Yeah, so it was just a super cool themey Legions of Blood list. I think the game wasn't as close as it could have been, just because for the first of 2 times that weekend, my Bloodthirster of Insensate Rage got a longer charge off than he had any right to, and managed to go into Nephi on my first turn.
What type of distance are we talking? We're talking like 10?
Like long shot? Like,
she was 12 inches away.
Tell us when to stop.
Like, well, I don't know. But whatever 12 inches is, Lim. But yeah, it was a long charge. Managed to get it off because he had +4 to charge. But he just managed to pile into the skelly, to charge the skellies, but then pile in round the side to get within range of Nephi. He blew up. This was his best explosion at the weekend too. He did 12 mortal wounds to everything within range.
Shit.
And so Nephi didn't even get to take armor saves. She just blew up. And so that was massive. One more thing I should mention about the list that I think I also may have blown up at that time was Elizabeth's Coven Throne. That thing is super cool. That Beguile spell that it has.
So strong.
If I was doing a Legions list, Beguile and the Coven Throne would be in my list for sure.
The Coven Throne's command ability is freaking strong.
Yeah, it's rerolls, hits, wounds, saves.
Yeah.
Of 1. Yeah. Oh, you chuck that on a vampire on Zombie Dragon or a Vampirus on Zombie Dragon, and that thing just will go ham on you and will not die.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a really cool list. I managed to grind it out in the end, but like I alluded to before, that vampire lady, she smashed through my army and I only just brought her down on the last turn.
Awesome. So that was a win?
Yeah, got her.
No, that was a loss.
Liam, how's your first game?
My first game was absolutely amazing because I versed Beth, and she had big dinosaurs, and she wanted to roll dice, and I was so up for that. She just had, I think it was a Star Hose where it's all about the Saurus. Like, I never see Saurus anymore. It's just skinks usually, so seeing all the Saurus was just awesome. I tried to explain to her that skinks are amazing, but she says, no, skinks don't do any damage, and I was like, cool, yeah, fair point. But yeah, so pretty much just got a rolling dice. I got a win by the end of it, but like she did some stuff that not a lot of people did over the weekend, which was kill 30 dryads. Like no one could kill 30 dryads, and she just went in and just went, cool. My big dinosaurs, my Basiliscus, like my Stegodon, my Troglodon, my Slan, everyone's just gonna kill these dryads, and she did. And her Ripidactyls just went ham. So she got a huge thumbs up from me for killing 30 dryads and a few other things. Like she went killing, she killed 2 Cone of Hunters. Like yeah, I actually love that game, and she's a great opponent, and she got my best game. Yeah,
Awesome. That was a win.
yeah, that's a win.
All
What
right.
about you? What about you, Macro?
It's 2-0 at the moment, so we've both got wins. I got grudged by Luke Dadhammer Stone on Warhammer Weekly. So in the chat, he was throwing he challenged me, and I went down. It was a super interesting list. So he was running the Scourge Privateers under Anvil Guard, and what made this list really interesting is he ran a double battalion, which basically encompasses a combination of a Charybdis, at least 1 up to 3 chariots, a whole bunch of his pirate elves. I can't remember what their names are. And then a fleet master. So he's got this double battalion, and what it allows you to do is either move in your hero phase, or shoot, or I think attack in your hero phase. And he's got like four fleet masters running around. And what's really interesting is that his benefits allow him to reroll hits and reroll wounds. So very, very interesting army when then you factor in, and what Luke did to me was a perfect strategy where top of turn 1, he got on top of the objective on the hero phase move. Because it was his hero phase move, he had some short range shooting. So I think it's about 12 inches. And then I think his units of 40 are just doing like 80 shots apiece. So really wore me down before I got into combat. And ultimately, I didn't have enough to take him out. So I went down as a loss. Super interesting game. Got to teleport 60 grots behind his line for the lols. But some things that needed to go off didn't go off. But it was a really good learning experience against Luke. So that went down.
All right. Submarine.
So that was a whole plan. I'm like, Luke wants to tell the world how great Scourge Privateers are, even though he's running Anvil Guard. So I thought I'm gonna tunnel. I'm gonna go from the bottom and work my way up. So currently we're 2-1.
Yeah.
Matt, game 2.
Second, I thought, oh, there comes my run to an end because I went up against Daughters of Cain. I'd never played Daughters before, but I'd heard some not nice things about them. So this army happened to belong to Lockie, and he was running Calibron as the temple. So what's worse than 30 witch elves running at you? It's teleporting at you instead, as if they weren't quick enough. This game, I thought maybe it was like I got a bit overconfident after the first turn because my Bloodthirster managed to sort of hero run across the board and Lockie hadn't put a command point aside. And so I was able to blow up with my Insensate Rage for 6. But what that did was catch 2 hags with the explosion. And so they both died. And then his big unit of witches died. And that was huge. I should say with Lockie's list, he had 2 of the big cauldron thingies. Yeah. He also had some Blackguard, the old Dark Elf. Yeah, the elite spearmen there. They were absolute nails in cover. But it was sort of a question of I got up in the game early, and then the cauldrons and the remaining witches and the Doomfire Warlocks all fought my army. But ultimately, I was able to burn off 2 of his objectives with my Bloodthirsters and then just wait till I got to a point where I could burn the other objectives.
Yeah.
While he only had 1 of his objectives left. I just had to get to that lucky number of 9. And then I knew with his 1 remaining objective, he couldn't actually win from that point. So that was the key bit. And then I sort of ground him off from that point once it became clear that, you know, we were just playing for kill points and secondaries, basically.
Solid.
Yeah, so super close game.
So major?
Got up. Yeah.
Solid. Sick. Yeah. What is it? My game. By the way, quick question. So you play Calibron. So what are your thoughts on Daughters of Cain after that? So that was your first experience.
I think they're super duper strong. I'm aware that Hagnar is probably the most efficient of the temples because it sort of helped make
good word choice, not crutch.
Yeah, efficient. Because it sort of makes them really powerful. It keeps them powerful in combat, but then they become unkillable. Yeah. I super liked the list, to be honest. I thought it retained that super strength that Daughters of Cain have, while the Calibrons sort of brought a cool mechanic that was sort of more interesting than I'm just going to keep rolling dice until you do no damage to me anymore.
Or just move forward and just, move forward.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so I thought once people step outside that sort of obvious choice for temple, I think the book could be really cool and fun.
Yeah, sick. Cool. So that was a win. So pretty much, what is it? I was playing Dave Hurley. Now, long story short, me and Dave Hurley, every event that we go to together. So he's a Canberra guy, absolute champ. Every time we go to an event together, we always somehow get matched up. Just always somehow get matched up. We got matched up at the first Sydney Slaughter when he had Clan Sky with my Sylvaneth, and I got a major win out of that. Then we played at the team event at Moab in the same year. He had Clan Sky again, and I had my Flesh Eaters, and I got a win out of that. This is the third time we've turned up to a tournament, and we got matched up. And I'm not going to lie, I don't think he was all that happy that he got paired up with me because he knew that it was going to be a tough game.
He's having flashbacks. He's having nightmares like he was in Vietnam, just like remembering flares coming out of his face. He's remembering trees as his scryer popped up and, stuck in the woods. And it's like,
you don't know because you weren't there, man.
Yeah, pretty much. And then and I saw his list, and the first thing I saw was Grimgharsh Reapers. I was like, there goes my run. I am not going to get this at all. He had Arcan the Black. What else he had? Arcan the Black, a Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon with a Ethereal Amulet.
He's gone to Aldi.
He's gone to Aldi. He got his Ethereal Amulet for free. For $2. Bargain. And then he had 20 Grimgharsh Doggos. He had 2 years of 6 Spirit Hosts, which do a lot of work. They're a very annoying tar pit to deal with. And he had a Necro as well. But this scenario, since we haven't mentioned scenarios, this scenario was Better Part of Valor, which is my least favorite scenario because games like this can happen where I was about to win the game in 15 minutes. And he didn't even get a turn yet. All I had to do was my Unit 30 Dryads to my left. Everyone else is pretty much redeployed, ready to charge. 2 units of 30, 1 unit 30 on my right, 1 unit 30 on my left. And Jeffrey in the middle, buffing them all up. Cogs went off, speeding up time. And these Dryads, all they had to do is make a 6-inch charge re-rolling, and they failed. And I just stood there, and I was like, shit. And then Dave Hurley's face just had the biggest grin on his face because he knew that this game was going to go for a bit longer than 15 minutes, was going to go for an hour.
An hour?
Yeah, it only went for an hour.
Still not great.
Oh, well. He killed them. Grimgharsh Reapers would do the work. So, yeah, he made me work for it in the end. I got first turn, I burnt his 2 objectives, one in the middle, one on the right. And then he kept threatening my bottom right one. He, in the end, got my bottom left because the Grimgharsh Reapers flew over and killed the Unit of 10 Dryads. I was holding it. And, yeah, so he started doing some work. But in the end, it was a major win because I won an important priority. And Durfu and Kernel Hunters just went in and just kept churning through whatever got thrown at them to get to where Arcan was, which was holding the left objective. He had 1 model, I had 2, so I got it at the bottom of turn, or top of turn 3, or bottom turn 3, and that got me a major win because I just burnt the rest of the objectives. So if Dave Hurley's listening, champion of a guy, and I'm sorry, but that was another win for me. We will have another game. But yeah, I just don't like that scenario. That's just me. I'm not a huge fan of it because you can have games like that where you could finish it in 15 minutes and not give them a game. So yeah, even though I got a win, everyone's like, oh, you should be happy with that scenario. It's a good win. I'm like, no, there's no skill involved really, in my opinion. It's a very much move forward and try and kill your opponent turn 1 as quick as you can. So yeah.
Yeah, super solid point. One thing before I forget, I did Elizabeth a disservice earlier because I thought it was one of the cool things about her list. Her Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon did not come equipped with an ethereal amulet
What
because
did he get at Aldi?
Nephi has a spell that gives a death unit the ethereal amulet. She gave her Vampiress Ignac Scales. And so at the start, when I said I'm going to rely on my Skull Reapers to do mortal wounds to those things, she was ignoring the mortal wounds too. And that's why it took so long. So anyone taking Legions of Blood, that combo is insane.
Nephi and Igrax, cool.
Yeah, it just doesn't die. And the Coven Throne to give those reroll 1 saves. Like, it's just like, oh, cool, I've only got to deal with a 4-up, 6-up, 6-up if I'm doing mortal wounds, or a 3-up rerolling 1 ignoring rend, followed by a 6-up, 6-up if I'm, doing actual damage.
She gave Ignac Scales to the Vamp Lord, right?
Yeah, Vamp Lord had Ignac Scales.
So that one, they ignore mortal wounds on a 4-up. Is that right?
Yeah, so didn't want to derail where we were going, but I thought that was super cool.
So she had a 4-up, then 6-up. So that Vampire Lord was not going to die, and once per game can heal D6.
Yeah, and she parked it near Mystical. Oh. So even more. And if she was on an objective with Mystical right next to it.
And she takes Pinion, she can also do some damage and bring some life back to the Vampire Lord and heal as well. So that's pretty solid. I like it.
Yeah. So
but Magro game 2.
3. Yeah,
game two. Game two for Mag. So that's probably a really good point, guys. So game 1 was, so we were playing Realmscape features. So round 1, we played 3 places of power in Haish. So we played Dazzling Glow was the Realmscape feature. So we had the command ability, the spell, and it was randomly generated which of the Realmscape features. So you subtracted 1 from the hit rolls for attacks in cover. So that was pretty cool.
So strong for Sylvaneth.
Really cool. Round 2 was Shimon in the better part of Valor, and we had, I think it was, do we have Rust Plague?
Rust Plague.
Yep, so they started hero phase on a 6. You can subtract. So that was pretty cool. So I had the pleasure of playing your opponent, Liam. So I got to play Beth. So Beth is an 11-year-old gamer. She has been on the Road to CanCon series with her dad, Andrew Bigwood. So really cool story that Andrew and his daughter came to CanCon. Beth had been at Sydney Slaughter, at Sydney GTs. She's been hanging out with her dad for a number of tournaments. Her mum is also a big Blood Bowl player, so big gaming family. But she's always been a watcher, never a player. And she took Seraphon. So we had a really, really good game. She took me out, so she won. So she did some pretty cool teleporting of skinks and some things behind the line. We had a really good game. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. So kudos to Beth. She did a great battle. She didn't like.
She's the first professional war gamer because she got paid for each win.
This is true. We found out at the end of the game that Dad was paying her $10 a victory, and she walked away with at least $10. So we had a really cool game.
First professional Warhammer player in Australia is Beth Bigwood.
There you go.
Well,
she's not old enough to have a job yet.
So
that's exploiting a child for money, and I think I'm going to have to confiscate those $10.
Andrew's in the chat, so I think Andrew owes me at least $5 out of that $10. If no, in all seriousness, it was an awesome game, and I had a lot of fun, and I hope I see Beth at more events.
By the way, her army is beautifully painted.
Yeah, I wish I could paint half as good as that when I was her age. So
yeah, so shout out to Beth.
I wish I could paint half as good as that now. So
she wasn't happy though that I killed her Slan and her she kept having a go at me because I wasn't calling her Skink Priest the right name. So
by the way, do you call it Slan or Slan?
Both, depending on Slan, Slan.
I said Slan. I'm like, oh, that's just Slan. She goes, no, Liam, it's Slan. And then she said, she's the maturity level of a 3-year-old. It's just like, it's disgraceful. And she was like insulting me. I'm like, I don't know what to say to you.
I think she's overestimating you there, Liam. 3-year-old is very generous.
That's what I thought.
She was sassy. She was sassy.
So sassy. Yeah, so you are down, Magro?
Yeah, I'm down. So at the moment, Matt is up 2-0. Liam is up 2-0. Anthony is down 2-0. So, so going into game 3, Matt, who are you playing?
So I'll smash through it, but through a funny turn of events, I was playing Elizabeth's boyfriend, Luke. So that was the Gloomspite player I mentioned before. It was his first major tournament, he was telling me, and he kicked my butt. Honestly, I think I got 600 points out of him or something like that. I managed to kill some fanatics, a few squigs, and a unit of 40 stabbers. And then the unit of 40 stabbers came back as a unit of 20 stabbers, which was rough. But I think I managed to just go up on objectives early enough. And maybe that's part of the experience of going to a few tournaments, is that, you know, it's always worth going up in the scenarios, because then you force your opponent to start prioritizing, you know, oh, I won't make that charge even though I wish I could, because I've got to go grab that objective. So when it's always worth going up early on the scenario, because you can sort of make your opponent do weird things.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I guess when we get to game 4, I'll see I'll see how you tested that strategy. But I'd probably argue that is the right play going in. And by the way, in the chat we see Beth Bigwood is in the chat, so she's giving us a bit of lip in the chat as well. So hello to that legend down there.
Absolute champion.
That's not like belittling, like hello down there, like hello in the chat.
I'm going to clarify it.
So game 3, you're up against Luke. We're playing in Shaiish. We're playing in Border War is the battle, and I think we had life leeching was the Realmscape feature. So
yeah, on a 6-up thing, it takes D3 mortal wounds. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So Matt, did you win or did you lose? What was the result?
Yeah, I got up. Spoiler alert, it will become a bit of a theme. But yeah, I got the win. But like I say, only just and only on the scenarios. Those gobbers were definitely leaving the field in defeat, but those corn boys were leaving the field, you know, nursing some fairly severe wounds.
What in Luke's army gave you the most trouble? Was it the fanatics? Was it the grots with the nets?
He had 100 grots in that army, and he was doing a great job of keeping them within the Loon Shrine's bubble, so they weren't taking battle shock, and I knew that. So I got a taste of my own medicine with my Blood Secretor banner. So I knew that was going to be so difficult. And so it was more a matter of holding my objective just about, taking the 2 side objectives and just trying to contain the grots so that they couldn't get out to the objectives. But yeah, in terms of damage, the Mangler Squig, the Loon Boss on Mangler Squig was great. And yeah, probably the big units and the fanatics inside them were the main damage, as well as the Loon King, because Luke ended up with about 73 command points by the end of the game. It was just insane.
Yeah, I found myself, I think, at one stage when I played Luke Stone, I had 8 command points up my sleeve. So that was quite interesting when we were doing the what's it called? The strike quickly, where you can prioritize to attack first. But we had so much command points, we just gone back and forth, and we spent so many. So super easy to generate points. So Matt, you're up. You're at 3-0 right now. Liam, how'd you go?
So, my third game. Turn up to the table. I see Pat from Masters. So pretty much anyone who doesn't know, haven't listened to the Measured Gaming podcast or my podcast, everyone would know that me and Pat had a bit of a hiccup at Masters, which left a foul taste for both of us. But man, this game was awesome. We played Border War. He had his corn again, but he was running a battalion. I forgot it, but the Wrathmongers ignore Rend 1, which is awesome. And I've not seen Wrathmongers since my first time playing Khorne, like before they even had a book, and when there was like Khorne Bloodbound book and a Khorne book. So that was like a long time ago. And so I just completely forgot what they did. So if anyone doesn't know what Winterleaf does, I get to reroll hit rolls and wound rolls of 1 against Chaos. So this matchup is perfect for my army. But yeah, he stopped my summoning trees, so I only had 3 tree bases on the board, which is super low for me. Like I've never had that like few, because he just auto dispelled with his Blood Secretor. And pretty much I didn't really go full alpha. I kind of played more defensive. I just threw in Cone of Hunters in, and I threw 30 Dryads in, and I did quite a bit of damage to his Wrathmongers. Like I killed the Cone of Hunters, wiped out his unit of 15 in first round of combat, and Durfu's shooting. And then so pretty much that's how it went for me. I just started killing things quite quickly, like all these hard-hitting units. And then, so pretty much I was up quite early, and he threw in heaps of points at my Dryads. He just couldn't kill the 30 Dryads for holding both my objective and the side objective, which was stopping him scoring for a turn or two. But me and him are high-fiving. We're having a great time, so there's no bad blood between us. He's an absolute champ. Would love to play him again in future events. It was awesome. So I was up on that one.
Nice.
Awesome. So game 3, I played a Zench army. Daniel, I believe his name was. I've lost my book. Super awesome. Threw a lot of spells at me. I just withered it, kind of got through and just kind of ground down and kind of it was basically combat versus magic, and I basically just kept punching him through Colossal Troll Hag. So I got the major win there. So I was on the winner's circle. We're now Matt, you're at 3-0. Liam, you're at 3-0. I'm at 1-2. Game 4, and I am conscious, guys, that Matt has another date as well, so we won't harper too long here. Game 4, who are you up against, Matt?
So I am playing Matt Tyrell, his Legion of Blood. This one was a bit trickier because my tactic is always take out the general when playing legions, because then you can kill their stuff without suffering setbacks. But he had a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon with Ethereal Amulet this time. So obviously super hard to kill. What sort of swung it my way in this game was that set Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, we found out was actually terrible at fighting stuff. So even with additional attacks from Legion of Blood and the vanilla Vampire Lord's command ability and rerolling all hits, he did 0 wounds to my Bloodthirster of Insensate Rage when he went into it. And so the actual greasy gobbo ran towards me, and I was just able to go up on the scenario early. So with some luckier rolling from Matt there, and some less lucky rolling from me on my armor saves, it would have been a completely different game.
So the outcome, major or minor?
Major.
All
yeah,
right.
major win.
So you're at 4-0.
4-0.
Beautiful.
Solid.
Liam, who have you got, and what was that like?
I went up against Lee from New Zealand with his Winterleaf with Eels. So it's a Sylvaneth matchup, mirror match with battalions. Super interesting. I'll just pretty much bring up some highlights. Finish deploying, and most times with Sylvaneth you go first, but since relocating Ob you score more points for going second. So I went to him to go first, and he was a little bit shocked about that because the way he deployed was pretty much like a retaliation deployment, I think. He wasn't ready to take the turn, if that makes sense. So he pretty much went, cool. He had deployed. I realized I left a bit of a hole in my back area where he could deploy his eels. And they went in and tried and kill my branch wraith with regrowth and Durfu, and he just didn't do enough damage, and they just got wiped out in that round of combat. Pretty much, he was getting up on points. He kept scoring 1 and 1 and 1, and he was stopping me scoring 3 for 2 turns. And then at the final turn, I got it, but then we realized afterwards that we were playing it wrong. It's heroes with artifacts or wizards within 3, not 6. So I went down from a minor win to a major loss, and that was it really. So yeah, so I pretty much, it was an awesome game. We wish we had more time. Me and him have both agreed now that when I go over to New Zealand, we're going to make some time to play a nice casual competitive kind of game with no time limit, few drinks going around and playing a solid game. So yeah, because he heard about my episode of Magro with Sylvaneth and stuff, and he goes, you have brought up awesome points and you're an awesome player. He's an awesome player. So he really wanted to play another game where we just don't have the stress of time, which I think is a huge thing with Sylvaneth. Like 2 Sylvaneth mirror matchups, 2 hours and 45 minutes is not enough time. Since we have to be very intricate. So that's a loss for me, but 2 thumbs up for Lee for being an absolute champ and an awesome player.
Sounds like there's a revenge match coming soon.
100%.
So speaking of revenge matches, I got paired up round 4 with Blake Kerwick, who I had played Blake 2 years ago at the RCGT 2017, where we got paired up second last game going into the finals. He had 27 Skyfires. I was running around with my free people with a Carmine Dragon. I killed 15 of his Skyfires in a single round of combat. So he was out for blood. He was running Flesh Eater Courts. I was running my Moon Clan or my Gloomspite. Turn 1, he ran his 3 Ghoul Kings on Terrorgeist into my face, then summoned 9 Crypt Horrors behind my line and then charged. Massive, massive combat that happened. It took about 3 or 4 turns. I broke through it. All while this was happening, my Troggoth Hag and Arcan the Black were chasing the relocating orb. And at the end of turn 4, after I smashed through, eventually kind of weeding down all of his monsters and his good stuff, I was able to claim the major there. So all the minuses to hit in my army, from the Troggoth Hag to the Colossal Squig, the Mangler Squig, you name it, everything had a -1. That really kind of ground down his army, and it was quite challenging. So super awesome game. If you haven't seen his army, it's a converted Seraphon army into a Flesh Eater Courts army. It's wicked. So I was up.
Did you get confused what was what?
No, because they were on large bases. So he had a very small army. So he only had ghouls. He had Crypt Horrors, and then he had his Ghoul Kings on Terrorgeists, which were all on the large bases. So it was quite clear to a degree.
Cool.
So that was round 4. That was in a squishy, and we were playing Relocating Orb. Round 5, we've got Gairan, Knife to the Heart. Matt, how'd you go?
Just quickly, is that how we pronounce it?
It's Gairan.
A squishy?
A squishy?
A squishy realm.
I don't know.
Squishy. I like it. Everyone, we're going to call it a squishy. Hashtag a squishy.
What do we pronounce it?
I don't know. I always thought it was Akshai, but now I'm going to read the initial like Corgus Cool books about how he's the like raper of a squishy and stuff like that. How he's like
that.
A bloodthirsty conqueror in a squishy.
Squishy. I like it.
It's a lot better. But anyway,
I feel very huggy, like a squishy, like, oh, it's all like nice and fiery, and we all hug and keep warm.
Yeah, warm. Keep cuddle, because it's so cold over there for Beast Claw Raiders.
It's a squishy realm.
Cool.
So round 5, I had the privilege of playing Ryan Kirby's Beast of Chaos. Very heavily Bulgor and Warherd sort of centered. So he had the formation, the Hungering Warherd. And oh my days, that stuff kicks out like a lot of damage. So I took the first turn because I sort of wanted to pressure his gauze and sort of try and keep him in with my flesh hounds, which I did to an extent. I sort of took out most of that gore unit, but then he double turned me back with his Bulgors and Gorgons and Doombull and stuff like that. So that like really hurt. And honestly, I thought this was the way the run comes to an end, because Ryan was just smashing up my army. But I managed to keep my Wrath of Khorne Thirster alive and just sort of picking on Ungors and stuff. So he could do a massive 20-inch run and charge, big charge over to the Bulgors who were babysitting his back objective. It was a knife to the heart, by the way. And I was able to summon, using Blood Tithe, 5 doggos. They were able to make a charge on. And after the Bloodthirster had smashed up some Bulgors, I managed to control Ryan's objective, I think in the 5th battle round, and just about edged that game. It was super, super close.
So it was close. And by the way, the Realmscape feature was Life Spring. So we got to choose a hero and give it an additional wound characteristic. So I really like that, turning a goblin from 6 to 7. So pretty close, almost lost it, but you're able to muscle your way to victory.
Just, yeah.
So Matt's up 5-0.
Cool. So my game 5, this is going to be super quick. I versus Luke McFarlane, I think it is. He's from Brizzy. We played at Runax, our team event, with my daughters. So I think this is a bit of a revenge game for him because he learnt the hard way about daughters, and now with my Sylvaneth. He had 60 Grimghast Reapers. Anyone who knows me, I hate them in Legions in the Gash. I don't.
And you didn't put a tweet up like before the event saying that something like there was 610.
There's 610 Grimghast Reapers, and only 110 of them are in Nighthaunt. Yes, guys,
AOS
that
steal.
is that crutch. But he's an absolute champ. Let's just say this: he had that spell from Death where you draw a line, and any 4-up, they take D6 mortal wounds. The spell went off twice, so he rolled 2 4-ups. He made 2 4-ups with Durfu and did 11 mortal wounds to him. So that was cool. And he killed him straight away. And then he killed my Crown of Hunters at the same time, all in turn 1. We rolled for turn 2 priority. This all happened in turn 1. Rolled for turn 2 priority. He won it. I conceded because the rest of his force can reroll to hit against my whole army because everything is 5 or more models.
Winner.
So, yeah, that's how quick my game went, and it went for 25 minutes.
Ouch. And by the way, it seems like I've triggered the internet. Both Tim, the Aussie wargamer, who's a teacher, and Deke, who is the one of the lords of Sigmar, have both told me that the way you pronounce it is not as in a hug, like squishy. We're calling it that. It's called Akshi.
Akshi.
Yeah, so it's like AK and then
I don't care.
She.
I like a squishy so much.
No, we're going with a squishy.
A squishy.
All right.
From now on in this video series, you got to call it a squishy.
We're calling it a squishy
every single time.
All right. So hear that, internet? You're wrong. I'm right.
Yeah. So my game 5, I was down. I had to explain to Luke when I conceded, it's not you, it's your army, because he thought it was about him, but it was his army. I just don't enjoy playing it. And I myself, if anyone knows me, I'm not a huge fan of it. But I know the internet also agrees with me about Grimghast Reapers, how they're in Legions. So I'm glad I'm not alone in this. But he's an absolute legend.
I personally hate it when someone's army is just impossible to kill, smashes you up. It's just not fun to play against. Daughters of Cain, Hagnar player Liam, Burnett Blue. Sorry.
At least I admit for mine's okay. Before we get into this and we'll move on, at least I knew that my army was bullshit. I agreed. And
I'm pretty sure those Grimghast players also know they're bullshit.
Oh no,
yeah.
They're not sitting here thinking that they're skinks.
If you've got a bullshit list, that's cool. Just own your bullshit.
Yeah, he did, and I respected that. And I honestly just didn't want to play a game where I just watched him just come in and reroll a hit and wound my whole entire army. That's just not what I wanted to come to CanCon for. I just went, cool. Here you go. So I spent the rest of the round watching everyone else's games, which, by the way, was absolutely awesome fun. because I watched awesome shit happen in every single person's game. So it was a win-win for me. I mean, a win-loss for me. So I'm down 3-2.
So Liam's down, but moral victory up. So
moral victory up.
Moral victory. I got
often he gets a moral victory.
Let's not trigger Liam in our first episode. My game 5 was an awesome game. So I got to play Andrew from the Failed Charge up in Queensland. He was running a Fire Slayer army, and it was such a good game. But the poor bastard was at -3 to -4 in combat almost the entire game. He basically he charged me with his Hearthguard Berserkers. I killed them in about by the top of turn 2. So 30 dead, and then my army just kind of proceeded to my Loon King on or my Loon Boss on Mangler Squig kind of just like bounced, killed his Magma Dragon, then kind of bounced on the objective, and I kind of claimed it by turn 3. So it was a really tough battle. I don't think he was expecting what I did to him. But we had an awesome game, and he was an awesome player. So I'd met him up in Toowoomba a few months ago, but never got to play him. So I'm up now. Yay.
Nice.
And now game 5. Round 6. Sorry, round 6. We're playing in
home stretch,
and we're playing Focal Point. It is game 6, the first time we've ever done this up in Australia. Focal Point, Matt. How did this go?
This was the one I was convinced, like, every other time this tournament, I've been like, yeah, I've got a fighting chance here. But of course, I wait till I get on the stream. The perfect time to impress people, show them how good Corn are. Everyone's watching.
First time on the stream? You weren't on the master stream, were you?
Yeah, he was.
I was, but I was playing Chris Tot. So, like,
that's right.
There wasn't as much pressure there because I'm playing someone I play literally every, like, week, it seems.
But you didn't play Matt this time. This is like the first event ever that you.
Yeah, this is the first event you guys have never been matched up.
Yeah, didn't even play. Barely spoke to the guy.
He had his girlfriend walking around with him, so I think he got distracted.
Yeah, but on the stream, I wait till then to play a billion Arcanaut company with Light Skyhook and Alex's list, which was super, super cool. Great to see KO back at the top tables. He had Thunderers. He had a Frigate. No Ironclad. But it was still Zilfin. I knew that it was going to be painful going into it in terms of the models I lost. But I think I was able to screen well enough that when he dropped, he just killed my dogs. And then I was able to movement shenanigan enough to get after his Thunderers. And if you want the details of the game, it's all on the Honest War Gamers stream.
Yeah.
I think that should be posted up on his YouTube channel, I think.
Yeah, it's on YouTube and Twitch.
That's super cool. But really it came down to the fact that I was able to secure the first 2 priority roles. And that just meant that I was able to take out a lot of his stuff, because once he's dropped down, KO are super, super slow unless they include engine riggers. So I knew that my Corn was so much quicker, and I would be able to sort of wear him down and eventually take home the win.
So you stopped CanCon.
I stopped CanCon. I am the bad guy here because Alex is such a cool dude. His dwarfs were like the plucky underdogs that could. And unfortunately, the evil Corn sent them back to their skyholds with only one Arcanaut company member surviving to keep the family business going.
You're a cruel bastard.
Liam,
leave one alive. Leave one alive so they tell the tales to the dwarfs back home.
Dead man's tell no tales.
Create a Sky Grudge book.
Absolutely. I am firmly in that book of grudges.
Can I ask, is shooting meta coming back? Do you think?
I think shooting never became unpowerful. People saw one little debuff and freaked out. I'm not sure the meta is going to come back fully, but I think that makes the rare guy who does have a shooting army better.
Yeah,
because people aren't preparing for it. They aren't building for it. So if you're looking for your little niche in the community up at those top tables, I think a shooting list it'll do work.
Good to know from Aggro's Free Guild.
Well, look,
Yeah.
look, you've seen it, right? We saw it at Masters. We saw Dave Kerr use the ballistas quite well. Obviously, I experienced it with Luke Stone with his just pure volume of 160 attacks per shooting phase. So shooting is definitely a thing. It'll be interesting to see how it evolves, but fascinating. Liam, how did you go game 6?
I versed Jordan Goodchild and his Stormcast. This is a rematch for what I did to him at your event at Sydney GT. I would like to say this game was pretty much a very casual game. I was very just chiller and relaxed with it. And I was very helpful for him. He deployed, and then I realized that he left me a few gaps where I could score 8 points, like score maximum points first 2 rounds without even trying and not even have to charge. So I asked him nicely to redeploy some of his units so I don't do that to him, just because I didn't want to do that to a guy who clearly just didn't know what I was like, what Sylvaneth was capable of. But overall, the game in the end, he got the win by turn 4. I was up, but he had to win the game on turn 4 by pretty much getting all the objectives. Which was cool. I was not expecting to go for 4 turns. I was only expecting to go for 3, but he wanted to go for a 4th round because, but I was pretty much at this point of the weekend where I was like, cool, I've already lost 2 games. I'm happy to lose another. I've done my part for haven't done an outburst or anything. And he was a champion. Like, he's an absolute champ to talk to. Honestly, great hobbyist. His army looks beautiful. He paints them in Vindicators and plays them as Vindicators. So,
hobby points for him.
Yeah, hobby points for him. He paints the Stormhost he likes and runs them the one that he likes. So huge points for him for that. And so that was my game. That was a down.
Was it down?
He just beat me because we went for a 4th round in 20 minutes.
Right.
Cool.
So, but I'm not salty about it or anything. I was like, that's cool. Everyone wants that last win for a high, and that's what we did. So yeah.
Awesome. So my game 6, I got to play Brogan Clark. I was originally matched up with another Iron Jaws player. However, Brad Baker and Brogan Clark had already played each other in game 2, so they kind of swapped the opponents. So I got to play Brogan. We had a really good battle. He was playing Iron Jaws. I did some shenanigans and kind of teleported grots. However, the stacking of the Warg and can't remember the name, Matt, you probably know this, where when they kill something, they can then kind of activate another.
Gnashing and bashing.
That's the one. So between the stacking of Wargs and then the gnashing and bashing.
Bashing.
What?
This is a squishy all over again.
It's squishy.
Mate, will get angry at you.
Smashing and squishing.
Yes. Squishy. My army was squishy. It was squishy in a squishy by gnashing and bashing. So it was a really good game. He had kind of taken the objectives by that turn 3. It was kind of the lead had kind of broken, but I did take him to the full 5, and I made him work for his kill point. So I ended my campaign on 3-3. Lots of lessons learned from Gloomspite. Matt, at this point, did you know you were the winner of CanCon before the awards ceremony, or were you nervous as shit?
I was nervous as shit, even though Rob, Nathan, and Dan Say were yelling at me, and Dan from AOS Shorts was yelling at me, telling me that I'd won, and I was like, I'm not going to believe it until Clint tells me. Like, until I have that sword in my hand, it's not real. So, yeah, I was aware that I was the only guy on 6 majors, but you know what I'm like. I was like, I probably ended up with 0 sports. So, you know, it's
no, at least you're like, I probably did.
Yeah, I'm one of those guys.
How big is your sword?
Sorry?
How big is your sword?
Like, I haven't measured. My missus could tell you, but it depends whether she's happy or angry at me.
Yeah.
Right, so Nathan Prince, that was your question. We don't know how big Matt's sword is. I'm sure if you swipe right on Tinder, I'm sure you might find out. Couple of other questions while we've got you. With bloodletters being nerfed, this is from Bradley Baker. So while bloodletters being nerfed, are we going to see more Skull Reapers and Wrathmongers from Khorne players? Would love to hear your thoughts.
I think so. I think demons have always been the strongest like actual units in that book, but I predict some nerfs for demons continuing. So I think you're going to see mortals a lot. Hot tip, I think you're going to see beasts a lot. Bloodstokers with Bestigors. They will do some moving for you, and they hit hard when they do. So I think you will see a lot more mortals. I think you will see a lot more beasts, and you're going to see Khorne go into a really cool place.
Sick.
Chris Todd has a double question. Who was your sword's first victim, and do you want your terrain back?
Jet, and no, he gives me lifts to tournaments anyway, so you can hold on to it.
Tim Barclay said, does Matt have any favorite hobby hacks?
Hobby hacks, geez. Yeah, the really cool one. It's called Known Oil and Agrax Earthshade, and it can make even me look like a good painter.
I'd heard rumors you don't use blood for the blood god. You actually use real blood.
Yeah. So each of my opponents, I make them give me a vial of real blood, and then that's what goes on my next unit.
Amazing. We're
almost done. But what's the future plans for this year in tournament scene and armies quickly?
So the spiders need to get done. Yep. So I've always played Spiderfang as a cool like 1K army. But then with Gloomspite coming up, I've got some plans to expand them to 2K. Yep. And then just keep the Khorne boys going. You know, cool. Spill more blood, take more skulls, get going.
Sick.
And Matt, my final question before you run off and do an amazing podcast with the Heralds of War. So check that out. It's being recorded straight after this, and I don't know when it's being released. But my last question for you before you drop off is, if I was, or anyone watching this stream wants to win a major event like CanCon, like any significant event, what would be your one piece of advice to anyone wanting to win a tournament?
Build your list to be balanced. Build something go towards something that you are not going to mind playing for 6 months. Don't go out and get, spam the same unit over and over again. Build something that's going to be fun, that can grow with you. Because when you go to win a tournament, especially something as big as CanCon, you have to play the numbers games. You're not going to win every tournament unless your name's Dave Kerr. It just doesn't happen. But you're going to have to play a bunch of tournaments to ever, progress and get to that final stage. So I've been playing the Khorne for like a year and a half at this stage. And this was the first major tournament that I managed to win with them. So just pick something you love, pick the army you love, be the Paul Grixity that we all want to be. Pick an army you love, play it loads, and the wins will come.
Yeah, and Matt and I played at the Masters 2017. So at minimum, Matt's been playing this army since December 2017, and I know you've been playing it longer than that. So this is not a fairy tale. This is not something to just you build a list or you find an internet list and you are going to win an event. This is something that you've worked really hard for, and I'm the moment I heard you win, so incredibly proud that you had won it. I couldn't think of a nicer guy who deserves it.
Anthony, you're making me feel all the squishy inside.
I squish you with the crashing, bashing, and smashing, and I'll think of some other words for my Age of Sigmar rhyme. But Matt, if you need to drop off, dude, anything you want to say? Any shout outs before you leave us and we go to the last segment?
Shout out to Clan Filth, the whole Sydney scene, especially Australia, sort of as an expansion there. And then also shout out to all the guys in the Blades of Khorne group. Keep going, and we will fully take over this meta, lads.
Love it. Just after he's told us he's going to destruction. So
just goes like, nah, just goes, Khorne's going to take over, but I'm going to go do Gloomspite.
I've done my bit.
Yeah, Matt has paved the way in blood. It's now up to you, Corn Generals, to continue the smashing and bashing.
Yeah, get on it, lads.
Matt, it was an absolute pleasure. I'm sure we're going to have you on the channel again. The chat loves you. We just don't have enough time. We could probably speak to you for hours. Thank you very much.
Ban me from next year's CanCon if I do that.
We'll see how that goes. The last thing I want to start talking about, Liam and I, we're going to talk about some of the around the ground. So what's happening in Australia, a couple of shout outs. So from a content,
See you guys.
Take it easy.
Bye, guys.
From a content creator point of view, what's around the grounds in Australia? So there's going to be plenty of podcasts. Liam, have you heard of any podcast filming or recording for this event?
I do know that the Dwellers, AOS Shorts, Sean from Notorious, Clint, and Rob and Nathan all recorded straight after CanCon. So I do know there's going to be one epic episode straight coming about this week, most likely. Sorry for the airplane that's coming past. I live near an airport. But yeah, I reckon that's going to be a huge episode. And also AOS Shorts did some epic coverage. Like he was writing nonstop. So yeah, that's pretty much all I know for coverage for Post-CanCon at the moment. And then Clint recording an episode now. So
keep an eye out for so AOS Shorts, the blog. He's done a whole heap of articles that have covered all of the events. So check it out. The Honest Wargamer, you can find all the event the 6 games on YouTube and Twitch, so you can catch up. Definitely check Matt's game out, Game 6. Big shout out to Doom and Darkness, who recorded over 12 hours of list reviews with some amazing guests from Australia and globally. So we had Vince Venturella, we had Haywo Twitch, we've had Dan Brewer and Chris Welfare, and we've had some really cool, really cool people. Gemma, Tumbling Dice, Keith just put up a battle report. So check that out if you want to see Beasts of Chaos versus Iron Jaws. So lots of stuff's kind of happened. I'm sure everyone else is gonna want to have their share of CanCon. And then we got some events coming up. So
so many
events. So a couple of quick shouts. We've got in February, we've got the Hall of Heroes in Sydney. That's 16th and 17th of Feb. In March, we've got SAGT, which is going to be great. We've got Comic-Con, we've got Border Wars and BrisCon in April. So there's one in Brisbane, one in Albury, and one in Adelaide. And then there's a shitload between May, June, July. So throughout the year, there's at least one, if not 2 tournaments at minimum across the country. And Liam, any that you want to shout out or you're going to go to in particular?
I am about to probably pay for my ticket for Notorious, like Sean's event Notorious over in New Zealand, because my God, I love the Kiwis. They are absolute champions.
That's in May, right?
That's in May. I haven't got the date exactly. I'll double check it. I'll share it on Twitter and stuff on my thing, Shadowhammer. But yeah, I'm pretty keen to go to that just to see what their meta's like. Seeing Seth, Fraser, and Sean's and Lee's lists and stuff, I was like, this is interesting what you guys are doing. So I'll be keen to see what the rest of the country does. And hang out with that awesome champ, AOS Shorts again, Dan. He was an absolute gent to hang out with.
I think there's going to be a big collaboration between Australia and New Zealand. I think this was just the start.
Yeah.
We had so much fun, and I think next fortnight. So I think we're going to aim for this from a fortnightly point of view, but if there's popularity and this seems to go well and we get good feedback, so, if you've hung along this long, leave some comments in the comment section if you've enjoyed this, and we'll aim to go fortnightly, but if there's enough demand, we may even go weekly. So let's see. There's lots of cool people in the community, lots of cool stuff happening. Would love to showcase as much as possible. But I think next episode, I think we definitely get some of the Kiwi boys on to talk a bit about their experience. The day before CanCon, Liam and I had played in something called the Trans-Tasman Cup, which was a 5-on-5 rivalry that stems all the way back to the Warhammer Fantasy days between Australia and New Zealand. That was really cool, and we won't give much away.
No. Trying to think what else other events there are. There's Dwellers Below event in June. Which is also a huge shout out to them. I think it's like a 70-person event, and they almost sold out in 24 hours.
I think they have sold out. They sold out.
No, they have
most of
sold
the
out,
tickets.
but they only had 5 tickets left in less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
So huge shout out to them. That's a huge achievement for a podcast that was very down low for a while after fantasy blew up. Now they've come back and that event just blew up. So much hype and everything. I'm super keen for it. I'm super excited to go to South Australia and see what they're doing as well.
I'm jealous, so I'm going to Adepticon around that weekend. So I'd love. I think the Saggy Tea, I think it's called.
Yeah,
they're going to have a ball. I know tickets are already on sale for Sydney Slaughter. I know Lords of Border Wars. Their guys are probably almost halfway selling. So
they're just past halfway, I think, or maybe just on halfway. So get a ticket for that as well.
Narrative. There's Australia's first large narrative event run by Luke Stone happening in July. So there's a lot of events. I might throw something in the comment section. Make sure to grab your tickets. They will sell out like CanCon. The momentum's high. Everyone's excited. People are always looking for more. And I would expect lots of other events and lots of cool stuff to come in the future.
Yeah. Also, do you know that the Failed Charge guys are also thinking about doing some events? So also check out for their stuff as well. They're awesome. They're just an awesome crew as well. And huge shout out to Gemma and Dennis and Travis and I forgot the other guy's name who helped out.
There was Ty, and you also had, we had Sam O'Neill as well, who were the assistant TEOs and did an incredible job. So, big props to them, Liam. Thanks for.
Yeah, I think Clint, if he didn't have that big of a team, I think he would have been the most stressful human being in the world.
A big shout to Clint, who really rallied this whole idea and has been a driving force. So, big respect from us.
And huge shout out to Rob and Nathan and anyone else who put money in to send those guys over here. They were awesome guys to just quickly have a chat to and hang out with, and they love Australians. Love Australians.
Yeah, I mean, people who have followed this channel would have seen that Rob had got up at 2:00 in the morning to be on a stats show with myself and LLV. Rob and Nathan, I was impressed. Liam, you have a good time with them?
Oh, great time. Rob and Nathan knows how to drink, that's for sure. But he's absolute champ. And the fact that they kept talking and you could hear that their voices are going. They are just so passionate about their jobs that they just go, nothing can stop us. We're going to keep going. So huge shout out to them and their team, Dan Say, and again, AOS Shorts for the awesome coverage.
I may have offered Rob and Nathan a bed at Adepticon, so I may check at my hotel to make sure I can do that.
Yeah. That'd be awesome to hang out with them again.
They were incredible. If you guys aren't watching The Honest Wargamer, check them out. Those guys live, breathe, sleep. They drink Warhammer. They absolutely love it. They are fueled on it. And, they at the start when they say that, they're driven by the community, you're like, is this really an angle? No, these guys are.
Rob was absolutely amazed that he was like, what am I going to do for internet? Because CanCon was going to charge them like $700 for Wi-Fi. And everyone just stood there and looked at Rob and just said, just use our phone. You can use our phone. We don't care. And just to save him the $700 because we know it's his money. And we go, we want to help you in the best way possible. And he was just absolutely amazed that people actually put their hands up to help him out. So huge shout out to the supportive community that's supporting Honest Wargamer that supports us. So it's a never-ending cycle.
Big love. And look, there's lots of other events coming up. We've got some Savage Northmen up in Cairns. You've got Gladstone's got games. We're going to put all of the events that I'm aware of with a Facebook link in the comment section below. If you want to see something on this show, if there's something that you'd like covered that we haven't covered yet, maybe it's some hobby progress from people, or you want to see our photos, or whatever you want to see, let us know. Give us feedback. This is the very first episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. We're trying something different. We're always up for community feedback. I loved it.
I think we nailed it for the first guest. Matt did a killer job. So Matt, when you watch back at this, killer job.
And definitely check out Harold's. I'm sure there's going to be a tactical spectacular between him and I believe Adam Burt are going to be going head and head. So last year's CanCon winner, this year's CanCon winner could be
an episode.
One for the ages.
I do know that I'll be recording an episode soon, most likely with Ash and some of the Clan Filth crew. Anyone who doesn't heard about this, Ash rocked up with a heavy named character Nighthaunt list, and he went 5-1.
Beautiful. Who said Nighthaunt can't do it?
Yeah, who needs 30 Grimghast Reapers when you can just have 1 unit of each unit and do well? So I'm keen to record that episode with the lads, with the champs, and also recording with some people who weren't there for gaming really, but there for hobby, like Ben Spinetti and stuff with his beautiful Deepkin. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of post content, which I'm super excited to hear, listen, look at, and yeah.
Awesome. Well, this is one of the first of CanCon's content. Liam, thank you for being on the first episode. Matt, thank you for being on the first episode. Everyone in the chat, thank you very much for your full participation and the questions and the ideas and the banter. Guys, couldn't do it without you. Probably next fortnight will be the next episode, but who knows if you guys are like frothing at the mouth for more.
We'll sort it out.
Could be an everyday thing, guys.
Every day?
No, I think I'll get sick of my voice.
Never.
Have a great Whip Wednesday. Enjoy your hobby, and until next time, happy wargaming.
Peace.